Hello, everyone, and welcome to the National Stock Assessment Science Seminar. My name is Bailey, and I coordinate this monthly seminar series that highlights interesting advances and topics in stock assessment science. Today, we are very excited to welcome Dr. Christine Stawitz. Christine lives in Seattle and works for the Office of Science and Technology, or OST, at NOAA Fisheries. She first joined OST's National Stock Assessment Program in 2018 as a stock assessment modeling contractor. In 2021, she transitioned to project lead for the fisheries integrated modeling system, a next generation fisheries stock assessment modeling system. Since 2024, she has been serving as the assessment branch director within OST's assessment and monitoring division. In today's seminar, Christine will discuss how the National Stock Assessment Program supports NOAA Fisheries stock assessment community. Without further ado, I'll hand it over to Christine. Thank you all for joining us.
Thanks, Bai. I'm going to turn off my camera so that you can see everything that's on my slides. Okay, so thank you all for being here. I'm going to talk today about the National Stock Assessment Program. On the title slide, I have all the members of the National Stock Assessment Program, and all credit to them for doing most of this work. I'm just the messenger. And I also want to acknowledge Patrick and Rick, who've contributed a ton over the program over many years, as well as all the partners. I've tried to acknowledge the partners on the slides, but as you will see, our work is extremely collaborative with many of you who are probably in the audience. First, to orient you, if you are not part of NOAA headquarters, the Office of Science and Technology is within NOAA headquarters in Silver Spring, Maryland. Our office mission is to lead the collaborative execution of NOAA Fisheries science priorities. And across that office, there are 6 divisions. I am in the Assessment and Monitoring Division, which is led by Patrick Lynch and is circled here. But you'll also see throughout this talk, we work really closely with other divisions and the Directorate and the Office of Science and Technology, particularly Economics and Social Analysis, ST5, Science Information, ST6, and Marine Ecosystems, ST7. And so within that division, we are the ones focused the most on stock assessment. So fisheries stock assessments, as many of you know, being part of this seminar series, serve the purpose of measuring stock status relative to defined limits, as well as projecting harvest levels to optimize yield, prevent overfishing, and rebuild depleted stocks. And by the way that we do this is by collecting, analyzing, and reporting information to determine the effects of fishing. And so this process is not done really by the Office of Science and Technology by any means alone. We work a lot with regional partners who do the bulk of the collection and analysis piece. And then we, as you'll see, do a lot of the science coordination across regions and reporting at a national level. So to further orient you to the structure of NOAA Fisheries, we are the little NOAA icon that's centered in Maryland there, which houses all the national program offices, of which the Office of Science and Technology is one. For the purposes of this talk, the one that I'm probably going to mention the most is the Office of Sustainable Fisheries, which is our policy counterpart, but there's also quite a few other national program offices. Within each of the regions, color-coded here, there is either one science center or 2 science centers if you're the West Coast, and a regional offices that work together on all of this science and management. And these regional science centers are the ones that are actually completing the stock assessments and working with regional fishery management organizations. Not all of them. Some of them are done by partners outside of NOAA Fisheries. So to put the context for the program in a historical perspective, I want to go way back to 2001. So in 2001, the program was led by Pamela Mace, and the first stock assessment improvement plan was published. And so as you can see in this figure here, that's from the 2018 Stock Assessment Improvement Plan. This resulted in growth in our stock assessment capacity. So the x-axis here is year. There are two axes here on the y, the enacted funding for stock assessments and the number of assessments we complete. So going back to 2001, we're really not doing that many assessments and we don't have much funding. As time goes on, the funding increases and the number of assessments increases until we kind of plateau around 2013 to 2015. And if you extended this graphic on, you would see the number of assessments we complete per year has kind of stayed the same around 190. In 2015, Rick and others wrote the Stock Assessment Prioritization Tech Memo about how we could better prioritize assessments across regions and within regions. And then in 2018, Patrick led the updated Stock Assessment Improvement Plan, which set the vision for the next 15 years and led to the program being formalized. And just to acknowledge, what I'm presenting is really just another step or layer of brick on top of the wall that the many people before me have built. And so just want to acknowledge all of the leaders of the program over the years, Pamela Mace, Rick Mathot, Patrick, and Kristen Blackheart. In 2018, as a result of the Stock Assessment Improvement Plan coming out, the program was structured around three main recommendations. That Stock Assessment Improvement Plan is supposed to be a 15-year plan. So theoretically, I guess we're doing another one in 2033, but I don't really want to think about that yet. In 2020, Patrick Lynch spoke at this seminar and focused on sort of where we'd come since 2018, how were we achieving the goals of the Stock Assessment Improvement Plan. And then Kristen Blackheart led the program from 2021 to 2024 and iterated on the strategic plan that guided that time. In 2024, the current team members updated the strategic plan. So the goal is to kind of keep going through this process until we come to another big milestone where we may take a step back and assess if we need another plan. So this is really not anything new on top of the plan and goals we've been working towards for many years. It's just a check-in and course correction for the next 3 years. The people in the National Stock Assessment Program work really closely with many partners. It was actually pretty hard to find pictures that we had of just us and not all the different people we work with across regions and across international organizations. But they have really put together all of this work and I deserve all the credit for all of the positive things I'm going to present, and any mistakes are mine. Okay, so that's the historical setting the stage. Now we're in the present moment. And so I want to orient you to the structure and motivation for this talk. What I really wanted to do here was share our plan. So I'll start out with the program vision, the 3 goals. Under each major goal of the program, there's 3 objectives and many projects and a lot of progress and kind of next steps to share under each of these goals. And it's a huge portfolio of work to present. I think you'll find many of these slides could probably be a 45-minute seminar in themselves. So my goal here is to really be providing one of these appetizer samplers that you might see at a poster session of all of the work that we do. And you might get a taste for each of the projects, but you're probably going to want more on any one or multiple specific projects. And so that leads to kind of the second goal of the talk, in addition to just communicating out what we're doing, is to get input from you. So if there is a appetizer on this tray that is really appealing to you scientifically, I want you, if I'm like the waiter displaying this tray of food, I want you to chase me back and ask me for more snacks or more information about each of these projects. I'm not going to provide enough depth to really satisfy you in this talk, but I can connect you, or on each slide I'll have contact information for the POC for each of the projects, so you can also contact them directly. I also have a poll. So at the end of each of these 3 sections on each goal, there's 2 questions in this Mentimeter poll that you can answer that will help us understand, how across all these projects and priorities that we have, which are the ones that you're really connecting with, or what would you like to see more or less of. So I encourage you to open the poll now if you can, just so it's queued up, but please wait until I get to the slide where I put the specific questions that I want you to answer up to start answering those questions. Okay, so first I will start with the National Stock Assessment Program vision. This is the vision that, again, has been heavily influenced by all the work we've done before, but was recently tweaked slightly as part of the update to the 2024 strategic plan. I will let you read it rather than reading it out loud. So the themes that are in this vision around developing tools, transitioning science and tools to operation, and fostering communication in communities are the 3 main goals that I'll then go into for the rest of this talk. So there will be some repetition. Our goals in the current planning cycle are really aligned very well to the 2018 Stock Assessment Improvement Plan. The first is to build, connect, and support the stock assessment community. The second are to transition advancements in science and standardized, streamlined process into operational use. And the third are to innovate and support stock assessment science and tools. Okay, so the first goal I'll go into is around connecting, supporting, and building the stock assessment community. Under this, we have 3 objectives, which are reporting and advocacy. The second is connecting and supporting connections across regions and beyond NOAA. And the third is training and support for the next generation. We have many partners in this work. Okay, firstly, I want to highlight our reporting on stock assessment performance. And the point of contact on this is Jeff Vieser. And so we provide quarterly updates on stock assessment performance and contribute to an annual status of stocks report that is published by the Office of Sustainable Fisheries. The sort of things we report are encapsulated in the graph here from the last update. We track the performance level of NOAA Fisheries stock assessments. So you'll see the completed assessments up until 2023. The red line tracks the number of stocks with adequate assessments. And since then, we've moved to this Fish Stock Assessment Target Index, which is the blue line with the points for FY23 through 25. So across NOAA Fisheries, we are looking at performance. We have some good news at the current moment. We're currently at our lowest level of stocks experiencing overfishing, and we have a lot of promising new techniques and data streams on the horizon improving stock assessment results. The bad news is our assessment throughput and performance is declining due to capacity and staffing limitations. This was true even before recent hiring freezes and any reduction in staffing that is happening recently. So we were already at a point where our assessment throughput and performance was going to decline just because of flat budgets. And so any further losses to staffing are going to continue to reduce our performance. Secondly, if we have interruption to data provision happening, and a lot of this comes from our fishery independent surveys, but also fishery dependent observers who collect data, are going to threaten our stock assessment reliability and our ability to increase throughput or continue our current level of throughput. Another part of this first objective under advocacy is to Congress and to the public. And so we have a number of public-facing resources. We just published an update to the State of the Science fact sheet on stock assessments. And thanks to those who contributed to that. And we also have our official fisheries website on stock assessments. Recently, we reported all the assessments completed for FY24 and those planned for FY25 to Congress, as well as across the regions and to leadership internally. And we also are the first stop when Congress has questions about the stock assessment enterprise. And the leads on that on our team are, again, Jeff and Abby. All right, and now I'm moving into the second objective around community building and connections. The first is this seminar series. So Bai Lee, who introduced me, is on our team, and she coordinates this seminar series. We've had a number of people from the program coordinate it since 2020. There are kind of always a daunting number of attendees and views after the fact on YouTube, where all of the talks are recorded and shared. And so there's a link in the resources doc that will be put in the chat to find the YouTube channel if you want to dive into any previous seminars. And so this really serves to share the science and progress we're making across different regions and offices. The other thing I want to highlight is the National Stock Assessment Workshop. Abby Furnish is the contact on this. About every 2 years, we bring together regional scientists and partners on specific topics. There's a picture here of all of us at the last one in 2023 in Rhode Island. And prior to each of these workshops, our program, as well as regional scientists, have provided training courses that then allow the participants to learn new skills. And I also want to highlight last in this 2023 workshop, we had Kristen Blackheart and Catherine Doring spearheaded a stock assessment workflows workshop that has led to one of the projects I'm really excited to talk about, which is the Workflows project. Okay, the third part of the first goal is supporting student fellows and training. We provide support to faculty through the QUEST program, as well as fellows through the NIMS Sea Grant Population and Ecosystem Dynamics Fellowship. And we also try to always mentor one or more Knaus fellows in the program to support the pipeline of young scientists coming to NOAA Fisheries. Abby Furnish is the lead on this as well, and she with partners finished a strategic outlook on this in 2024. And what they found was that 30% of QUEST participants and 40% of Sea Grant PopDi fellows go on to work for NOAA, and I am one of that 40%. And we also have provided training for hundreds of scientists internally to NOAA and also at the graduate level. And so this graphic here just shows you the number of fellows across year and center. Okay, so I'm coming to the end of goal 1. So now I will ask you to take the first 2 questions on the Mentimeter poll. The first is around the kinds of trainings we've provided in the past. I'm asking which ones are most important to you. And then the second one is, how do you like to communicate within the stock assessment community? I thought it was important to give you the ability to select more than one, but I don't want it to be, well, we like everything, and so you should do more of everything, because we, like all programs, are capacity limited, so you can select a maximum of 3, so choose wisely. All right, so I can share the second one about communicating with the community. It seems like a lot of the preferences are for meetings. I'm not sure if the training one is able to be accessed because I don't see results coming in through that. All right, the poll will stay open, so I'm going to switch back to the seminar in the interest of time. All right, the second goal we have is about transitioning advances we have in science and process from research to operations. Under this, there's 3 main topics. transparency and reproducibility in stock assessment workflows, increasing holistic and ecosystem-linked assessments, and creating a new platform, the Fisheries Integrated Modeling System, to support existing needs while enhancing connections to the ecosystem. And just highlighting our partners in this work as well. Stock assessment workflows, as I mentioned, came out of the last year's 2023 stock assessment workshop. The goal of this project is to build a semi-automated template in Quarto that makes it easier for assessment scientists to create stock assessment reports that are more consistent across different regions and assessments. And so Sam Shiano, Steve Saul, and Sophie Breitbart on our team are leading this. And they've developed 2 R packages that produce assessment report templates and a standardized set of figures and tables. Right now, we have version 1.1 available, and analysts at the Northwest Center are testing it out for us. And we're going to continue to develop and expand this tool set to continue to meet the needs of more and more regions and scientists. And we see this as benefiting by reducing the need to maintain these templates and packages across regions, provide more accessible results to those who may use screen reader technology under Section 508 without everyone having to figure that out for themselves, as well as increasing the consistency of reports and report all the national level reporting we do. The second objective is about holistic assessments. And so this is a graphic from the 2018 NSAP around what we mean by holistic assessments. So bringing more information from ecosystem and socioeconomics into fish and fishery analysis. Melissa Karp leads this, and along with another working group with folks on our team like Andy Chan, Andrea Havron, Bai, and Jenny Bigman, who's on another division in the Office of Science and Technology. One project under this objective is coordinating national ecosystem and socioeconomic profiles, which Melissa leads along with Kalei Shotwell from the Alaska Center. And so these profiles are a way of transparently bringing in more drivers into management in a way that can reduce duplication and create efficiencies across regions. And so this team coordinates across regions to share information and a step-by-step guide and workshops to share across regions the different types of challenges and accomplishments in creating these ecosystem and socioeconomic profiles for inclusion into management. Bai Li has led a manuscript recently on how we can make projections for stock assessment models more holistic, incorporating ecosystem and human dimensions drivers into a catch, augmenting catch according to those drivers. And we've worked with a number of scientists across the different regions and different groups in OST to simulate across 3 different data levels how you can incorporate these drivers, test the performance of different rules, and creating adaptable workflows for how to incorporate these information into forecasts. And what she found is that it's really important to bring these interdisciplinary teams together for communication and to build confidence in these more holistic management practices. The next one I will talk about is human dimensions for stock assessment and management. This is led by Andy Chan on our team. And so she's worked to develop good practices for how you develop indicators for human dimensions types of information, as well as identifying case studies that use this type of information that are done by our partners in ICES. And so she's coordinated a lot with ICES to increase consistency and communication and sharing between NOAA and ICES assessments. And you can see a lot of what she has put together so far in the Seesaw report that she developed, as well as the ICES report that was published in 2024 that should be linked through the resources. And also want to acknowledge the number of partners she's coordinated across different regions and with ICs. And part of this links into what are good indicators that can be used in the ESPs that I mentioned earlier. The final piece under Goal 2 is the Fisheries Integrated Modeling System, which is led by Kelly Johnson. The goal here is to design, build, and maintain a national assessment framework that can be used across different types of data and across regions. This is done as an R package that incorporates C++ code. And right now we have a beta release available that has been applied to 7 case studies across different regions. The goal is by the end of this calendar year to have enough features ready to assess about 25% of managed populations and reduce duplication across regional centers by incorporating experts and participants from all different regions to maintain, test, and contribute to this system. Okay, so that's the end of section 2. So I'll ask you to go back to the Menti poll. And in this case, I have 2 questions, since this is really about transitioning things from research to operations. What do you think the barriers are to using new tools in your region? And what are the barriers to more holistic assessments? Sorry, I just saw the chat about the Menti poll. It looks like from the results that are filtering in, people can only see when I'm presenting. So I will actually pause to present each of the polls now. Okay, so my first question about new tools. Right now it looks like the onboard time to new tools is a barrier, as well as incorporating new tools into existing processes. What are the barriers to more holistic assessments, more ecosystem or human dimensions information? And you'll notice with these, I did allow you to say that, we feel like we're doing this already, which is sometimes what I hear. If I didn't provide an answer that you think should be there, please feel free to write it down and share it in the chat or with me or by after the seminar, because I'm sure I didn't get all the possible reasons here. All right, thank you. Again, I'm not aware of time, so I'm sorry if I'm moving on before everyone has a chance to answer the poll. So the final of the 3 goals that I want to talk about is innovating and supporting science and tools. Under this, I've got 3 objectives: promoting best available software and statistical methods, building and maintaining the tools, and making advanced computing that we may not develop in-house more available to stock assessment scientists. Again, just acknowledging the many partners in this work. Under the first goal, I'm going to talk about 2 different projects. One is aligned around software and one is aligned around statistics. So the Fisheries Integrated Toolbox is really our one-stop shop for publicly available software tools. The goal of the FIT is to promote the use of best available software practices and share those software tools in one portal. There's a FIT committee that has participants from each science center in different fields that meet monthly. The committee and the Fisheries Integrated Toolbox are led by Catherine Doring. And their focus right now is tool quality standards. They've come up with a tool quality checklist that can be used if you create a new model or a software tool as sort of a checklist on how to follow best software practices. And they're planning to iterate on that based on running a few tools through it. On best statistical practices, I want to highlight Andrea Havron's work on best practices for residuals for mixed and random effects models. And she's been working with Cole at the Alaska Center, as well as some external partners on this manuscript. So they've been comparing how different types of residuals can be used on different types of correlated data to more accurately identify misspecification and make recommendations to stock assessment and any model developers on what the best types of residuals might be to assess the accuracy of their models. The second objective here is to develop and maintain tools. The first ones I'm going to talk about are SIS and StockSmart. So I mentioned SIS a little bit in our reporting. The Species Information System, it's our internal database of current and historical results, stock status determinations, and ACL records. This is the NOAA internal resource, so you can log in if you are internal to the agency. If you are not, there is a public portal, StockSmart, which has not entirely all of the information in SIS, but most of it. A rollout that is meant to be more user-friendly and publicly available. So using StockSmart, you can search, view, compare, and download stock assessment results for all of the information we have in SIS. This is led by Jeff Wieser, as well as collaborators across our program like Abby and Melissa, as well as different divisions within ST and the Office of Sustainable Fisheries. So the goal of StockSmart is to really be a central place that connects regional science products to national data products, and it's been used a lot in recent publications that are trying to look at status and trends in fisheries across the United States. Another data portal tool that we develop and maintain, and this is led by Melissa Karp, is DISMAP, the Distribution Mapping and Analysis Portal. This is a user-friendly interactive website where you can track, understand, and respond to shifting distributions of marine species. That aims to make this data more easily available and support decision makers in how they can use spatial data to inform their management decisions, such as fishing and marine protected area designations. This is also meant to be kind of a central hub to connect different scientists who work on species distribution modeling. This year, we've also got a Knaus Fellow, Claire Gonzalez, who's working on species persistence or gain loss analysis and updating the portal with more information. And this is becoming used more and more with about 5,000 hits weekly that may not be unique users. And just highlighting, again, our partners on different parts of Office of Science and Technology, as well as the National Working Group. Another tool that our team supports is stock synthesis. So Rick Mathot is the primary developer. Elizabeth Pearl is on the National Stock Assessment Program and works with Rick and the other folks working on stock synthesis at the Northwest Center to support development, maintenance, and testing of this really important tool. Many of you probably know it's an integrated stock assessment model that's used not only across NOAA Fisheries, but across the world. As part of this work, Elizabeth supports not just the technical side, but also the community around stock synthesis, such as the user forum in Google and the GitHub portal for stock synthesis, as well as a number of training courses that have been provided for users, coordinated by, I think, all the folks acknowledged on this slide, and also updating stock synthesis documentation. We develop a lot of tools, and so I highlighted a couple, but there's many others that we kind of developed for use on our team and then shared more broadly or developed as part of research work. I don't have the time to go into them, but a couple I want to highlight is the GitHub Actions for R package that Catherine Doring developed. If you're an R package developer, I highly recommend you check it out. It's very useful. I started, and now Sophie and Catherine and others on our team are contributing to NIMS palette, which can be used to create NOAA Fisheries branded colors. Catherine also maintains the SSMSE package that's used for stock synthesis management strategy evaluations. And Andrea recently put her plus TMB clustering analysis package on CRAN, so you can search for that. And I will share links to all of these in the resources doc. The final part of the third goal is about making advanced computing tools that we don't develop in-house available to NOAA Fisheries scientists. The first example here is GitHub Enterprise. So our team has been really heavily involved in making GitHub Enterprise Cloud more widely available in NOAA Fisheries as a more secure option to store code and increasing consistency across offices. Elizabeth Pearl is the OST rep for the GitHub governance team, and Catherine Doring coordinates it. And we work really closely with partners in the information division at Office of Science and Technology, as well as the GitHub governance team across regions. In addition to doubling the number of available licenses, offering many trainings to staff, and running a GitHub Copilot trial program with the help of Josh London at the Alaska Center, this has really been taking off recently, which is very happy and exciting for me to see as an early GitHub enthusiast. And we are also standardizing backup across regions. The second piece I wanted to highlight here was Posit Connect. Posit Connect is a publishing platform where you can host R and Python applications and dynamic reports. It's meant to replace Chinese server instances, and Catherine leads this in coordination with many of the Posit Connect forum members, which span different regions and science centers. There's a Google space that you can join and ask questions. We have a couple licenses available, although our use has been increasing about 40% per year. It's been plateauing recently. Another thing that I didn't put on this slide, but that our team has worked on the theme of advanced computing tools, is access to cloud resources. So Josh Lee from Fisheries OCIO led a Google Workstations pilot that Catherine has also been working with regional scientists at the Southwest Center to test out for stock assessment use cases. And so we have not, OCIO has really led the charge on this, but we've been involved in trying to get those cloud resources out to stock assessment scientists as well. Okay, final two questions of the poll. Which of these tools do you rely on most? And then the last one's a word cloud. What the most time-consuming or tedious parts of your job that we could help with are. And again, if I gave an example if I missed an example, feel free to share it in the chat or after the seminar here. Lots of enthusiasm for training and best practices guides. Thanks for the thumbs up. Makes me feel like people are listening as I sit here alone in this room. All right, I'm really excited about the word cloud, so I'm sorry if you haven't had a chance to answer this yet, but I'm going to advance to the next slide. What are the most time-consuming or tedious parts of your work that could be improved or reduced with national support? Data collation, data standardization, and report writing seem to be winning. And then there's a nod to accessibility as well, which is nice. Kind of mesmerized by this word cloud, but I know I probably have to go back to the presentation soon. I will try to wrap up quickly so we have some time for questions. We just had a program meeting. Unfortunately, it had to be hybrid given recent travel limitations, where we came out with some important goals to work on in the short term. We have a lot of training and we're trying to organize them into a more central location. SIS is really getting fancy recently with a lot more automated stock assessment tracking and reporting, which we're very excited about. We have tools like ASAR used for the stock assessment report that we're trying to transition into operations and provide training around. And we're also excited about creating more best practices guides and roadmaps for holistic assessments. So just highlighting some takeaways, I hope I gave you a sense of our main goals and objectives and what we're currently working on and how we would love to connect with you. I will just say, given the number of partners we work with, we always communication is so important and we can always do more of it, but we really rely on you to reach out to us as well. So please do not be shy. Contact me or any of the POCs I've identified in the talk. We want to share what we're doing. We want your input. And so if you haven't heard from us, it's not because we don't want to hear from you. It's because we have a lot of partners across a lot of different groups. And sometimes we don't always have the megaphone we need to reach them all. So please reach out to us. I've provided some resources through the project links and then also on the Fisheries Open Science page for you to follow up. All right, thank you. With that, I hope to have at least a few minutes to take a few questions.
Hello, everyone. This is your host, Cassandra from NOAA Library again. Thank you for your presentation, Christine. I, too, was mesmerized by the word cloud. That was really great to see. Audience, we have some time to answer your questions, and we would love to hear them. And so with that, we'll give people a little bit to type their questions in, since there is a bit of the delay. And thank you, Bai, for putting the links in the audience chat for everyone. Are there any ongoing coordination tools for other protected species outside of fish? Sorry if I missed this.
Yeah, thanks, Laura. That is a great question. So one thing I should highlight first and foremost is the fisheries integrated toolbox that I mentioned that Catherine coordinates has, I don't know, sometimes we call them drawers. Sometimes we just, I don't know if we love the drawers name, but there are different focuses within the toolbox. One of them is fisheries, one of them is protected resources. So we do coordinate, and we also have a human dimensions drawer. So there are definitely quite a few protected resources tools on the fisheries integrated toolbox. The other group of the other project that we are trying to coordinate with the folks who work on marine mammals is the stock assessment workflows project that I mentioned that Sam, Steve, and Sophie are leading. We've had some meetings with Josh London, who's worked on standardized templates for marine mammal stock assessment reports, about how we can share those templates or learn from each other for marine mammals and fish assessments. And just also want to clarify, we do have a number of non-fish assessments that are included in fisheries like shellfish. Yeah, and of course, the other place that GitHub, Enterprise, and Posit Connect are also things that are available to anyone in fisheries, even if you're not a fisheries stock assessment person. So definitely a lot of availability for people who don't think about fish assessments for some of these tools.
All right, thank you for your response. And it doesn't look like we've had any other questions come in yet. I'll give it another minute or so just in case anyone's in the middle of typing it. And if not, we can end the seminar just a little bit early. Not a question, but I would like to say thank you to our amazing OST colleagues that provide valuable support to stock assessors. That's so nice. Thank you very much.
And thank you, Chantel, who has been a partner in a lot of this work. So, and for the kind words.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Christine, for sharing your work with us. And thank you for organizing this event. By audience, please join us again Thursday, May 1st, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for our next National Stock Assessment Science Seminar. Take care and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.